Hey folks, this is Ben from CarryPad.com. Got the LG Spectrum here today and I want to do a little unboxing and overview for you. So as we're getting this out here, I'll give you a quick rundown on some of the specs. It's got a 4.5 inch screen. It's a pretty impressive 1280 by 720 resolution. And we've got the phone right here, as you can see, huge screen. We'll go over that in just a second. Check out the inside of the box. We've got our classic documentation here that probably about 1% of phone owners actually reads. USB to micro USB cable, and this is a wall to USB adapter, and nothing else inside. So that's great. Let's get to the fun part, which is the phone, and we will start by taking off the screen protector here so we can see this lovely 1280 by 720 screen, which is pretty much the highest you'll find on any phone today. This is an IPS display, but it's your standard, it's not a MOLED or OLED or anything like that. So we'll run around the phone real quick before we get it turned on. On the front here you can see only 3 Android buttons, so they are eschewing the your typical search button. We've got your menu button right here, home button, and the back button. And up here on the front is a 1.3 megapixel front-facing camera, and mirroring that on the back is an 8 megapixel camera capable of 1080p recording. And on the sides, pretty bland in the port department, actually, a little boring there. We've got nothing on the right side. On the bottom there is a microphone laid into the back pry, the cover pry slot. And on the left side, volume rockers. Oddly enough, they decided to put the charger on the top here, so you pull off that flap for your micro USB charging. Another microphone here for noise cancellation purposes. 3.5mm headphone jack, and your power and lock button. Inside the back here, nothing too exciting. You've got your standard sized 4G SIM card here, because this is a Verizon device for LTE, 16 gigabyte preloaded memory, and of course your camera, speakerphone down here, all that fun stuff. Let's get the back on real quick and get this thing powered up. And let me continue going over the specs for you, the ones that we can't see anyway. So this has a gigabyte of RAM. It is Scorpion, or I'm sorry, well, it is Scorpion, a Snapdragon Scorpion 1.5 gigahertz dual-core processor, which should be pretty speedy. It's running Android 3.2, and I haven't been able to confirm with LG or Verizon yet whether or not they are going to upgrade this to Ice Cream Sandwich, but obviously if they do, if and when they do, the 3 buttons down here will become useless, because Ice Cream Sandwich puts these what used to be hardware buttons directly into the software, so that might be a little funky when and if that happens. And so I'm going to get this all set up here, and I'll be back with you in just a second so we can check out the software. Hi folks, we're back with the software side of the LG Spectrum here, and I just want to run you quickly through some of it. So as you can see, this is reskinned by LG. This isn't your standard Android build. This is running Android 2.3, and I want to get the exact version for you in case you're curious. So this is 2.3.5. I believe the very latest version of 2.3 is 2.3.7, but we shouldn't see any major differences between this version and that version. So here is your typical home screen layout. You can pinch to zoom out there. And actually, a little tip for some of you that may or may not know, usually there's all these screens are full by default, so you've got like 7 pages that you can potentially swipe through. Most people I know do not use that many pages, but they don't know that you can actually delete pages. So if you can pinch to zoom out to this view in your build of Android, oftentimes you can hold down on the existing screens and just drag them down to the trash can to get rid of them, so that way you don't have to potentially be swiping through 6 or 7 screens when you only want 2 or 3 or 4. And so as you can see, the app menu here has had a total revamping too. This is, I would say, a little bit less attractive than the native Android 2.3 launcher, which has some 3D effects and hardware acceleration. This can be a little sluggish. I mean, it moves quickly, it's responsive, but the frame rate there that I'm seeing isn't great next to, unfortunately we're going to be comparing now this to Android 4.0 because that is rapidly becoming the new standard. So next to that, it's not great, but for Android 2.3 it's pretty good. The fast processor obviously helps with this being snappy. So as you can see, these are all the apps are set up into individual folders, and you can collapse these. And I think these folders can be useful in here, although it's sort of annoying off the bat to not know, how did LG decide where to put all these categories? You might categorize something different than LG. Fortunately, you can customize that, but so right off the bat, if you say, okay, I want to find my browser, is it in applications, is it in tools, is it in news and search? You're not entirely sure, so you have to play with it first to really get it to a way that makes sense to you. Though hopefully, you'll just get your favorite apps on the home screen anyway and not have to worry about this all that much. So I think the folder system is nice, obviously, just because it helps you arrange your phone in a way that makes a little bit more sense than just throwing them on in a big menu alphabetically, which can sometimes be annoying. But I don't like the way that when you scroll, as you can see, so I've got the topmost folder up here. The name of it just rolled off the page, so I don't even know what this is right here. So it doesn't jump to each individual header so that you know what folder you're looking into. So you might fling it looking for something, and then suddenly the header's off the screen. You have to scroll back up, say, okay, that's HD, and I'm scrolling down, which one is this, or which ones are coming up. So I think that's annoying. I'd rather have them snap like that and stick, let the folder name right there stick to the top. So if you want to modify your folders here, you just use the menu button and you can manage apps, which will, I believe, shortcut you. I don't know, so let's see, press and hold to move, tap to install. So you can drag these between folders, and if you tap on one, if you have the option to uninstall it, it'll let you do it right from this menu, so you don't have to dig through the settings menu, which is handy. And I do believe that there is a way to collapse all these folders at once, and I think it's a gesture, yep. But again, this is the kind of thing that if you're not playing with it, you're not going to realize it because they don't ever explicitly tell you, unless maybe you went through the various guides. But I don't think it's that much to ask that the first time you try this, little thing pops up and says, look, you can use this gesture to do this handy function. I bet there's going to be a whole lot of people that will never figure this out just because a lot of people don't like documentation, especially lengthy documentation. So anyway, enough about the start menu there. You won't find any major surprises in the widgets that LG has included. You have your typical social stuff that tries to get all your social networking into one place. I honestly never ever find these useful because the apps themselves are so much more rich. It doesn't really make sense to me to just say, okay, let me configure my Facebook, Twitter, and messages here, and then see just one random, the most recent of any one of those status updates for my friends. It's just not particularly useful for me. If I want to get that sort of information, going to either a Twitter app or a Facebook app makes more sense because I'm sort of in the mode of trying to get that social information. I don't just want to see one random thing. I'm probably not going to respond to that, and chances are it's irrelevant. I mean, I don't know about you, but not everything that I get through Twitter or Facebook is totally relevant to me, so I don't just want one random thing up there. I'd rather go through it on my own. So in that regard, I generally just advocate just put an icon to the app and go straight there. If you want to do social networking stuff, I don't like when they try to collaborate it all into one relatively useless widget. And unfortunately, that describes many of these. I'm never a big fan of these rebranded, this is usually called the Power Options or Power Control widget here. They all use different icons, and half the time you may not be sure what they mean. I mean, I'm a power user. I've been using Android for quite a long time, used a number of different devices. I can tell you this is Bluetooth, GPS obviously because there's a label there. This probably stops all syncing, and this is your brightness. This one I'm not so sure. That might be airplane mode, or it could be data only. But I mean, so as a standard user coming at this, they may not have any idea what that symbol means. You know, they may not have any idea what this symbol means, which is the account syncing, I believe. And I think that's just silly. You know, it's pretty easy to indicate what those things are to users, and I think that's a mistake on LG's end. A strange inconsistency that I see here is, so you've got your Google search widget, that's great. You can tap the voice button here if you want to search by voice. So we can do a quick search and say, it's going to give us suggestions, all that good stuff. Enter, and it's going to take us to a Google search. That's great. So now we're in the browser here, and let's say I want to do another search. I'm not going to go back to my home screen to do that because any Android user knows you can search right in the address bar of your browser. So I'm going to try a new search here. And I'm going to hit enter just like I did before. And now watch what it's going to do. It's going to send me to Bing. And as far as I've been able to find, there's no way to change this. So the default browser search is Bing, while the default widget search from here is Google. And I just think that's terribly confusing for consumers who may not really fully understand the difference between why those decisions are made. And you know, I'm somebody who says, okay, well, it's Bing by default. Can I change that? I haven't been able to find that in the browser. It might be hidden elsewhere in the settings, but to have it set up by like that by default, where you're using two different search engines interchangeably, is a little bit silly. And so I must say that while this feels a bit snappy, it's Android 2.3.5, and it's pretty good for that. But I've got the Galaxy Nexus here, and when you put them side by side, let me turn that on for you real quick and make sure you can see it. When you put them side by side, LG's skin just looks clunky and sort of silly sometimes, like I was saying with the icons up here, where they're not really giving you a good indication. It's actually the same over here, but I will say that it looks a little bit more appealing, at least. And I think that the performance feels a lot nicer on, let me get an equal number of screens here so I can scroll through them to have a look. Feels a little nicer on Android 4.0. Feels like much smoother and more consistent. This over here is pretty smooth, although I don't really have any widgets on here, which will really start to slow things down. Let me throw some stuff up here, and I'm not going to take the time to configure these, but that's also a factor in how sluggish or not sluggish the home screen is. So on the Android 4.0 Galaxy Nexus, I have a weather widget, email widget. On the other, I've got my power control up here. On the other side, I have a music widget and a calendar widget. And the Google search is not a widget, actually. It's just there by default in Android 4.0. So over here, I want to keep adding a few more widgets and see how it affects the performance. Alright, so now we have about an equal number of widgets, and I can already see that when you're scrolling to the pages where the widgets are, it's really slowing down. And this is before these widgets are really even fetching anything, so I haven't even touched this here. So I think Android 4.0 is doing better on the hardware acceleration, and while that's not something that you will just tell your average consumer because it doesn't really mean anything to them, they'll be able to feel it, especially in the apps menu. You can just tell the difference in responsiveness, where this is actually locking up on me right now for some reason. It looks like there was a home screen crash right there. Okay, now we're back to apps. And so these are all just sort of in one big mess here. Android 4.0 scrolls these pretty smoothly, page by page. So you have individual categories, not just one big long list of stuff that you can go through. And I just have to say that Android 4.0 is looking a lot more modern and aesthetically pleasing. Sometimes I'm not particularly happy about the choices from an intuitive perspective that Google has made on some of these decisions, but they've always had an air of simplicity to the vanilla Android builds, and I think that's something that, I really wish that for most of the phones that I get, most of the Android phones, I wish I could just revert to vanilla Android build. So, the browser in here has also, had some work on it. It's still pretty plain old boring browser for Android 2.3. It gets a pretty good upgrade for Android 4.0. And now Google has Chrome down here, which is an even richer experience. It's still annoying to have to click on the menu button, then click Windows, then switch to the window you want, and then tap it again. That's just way too many presses to navigate around. And the reason I bring all this up and say that it's a bother is that spec-wise, these phones are almost identical. The LG Spectrum should not have any trouble running Android 4.0, but it doesn't seem like it's a big priority for the company, which I think if they want to move the LG Spectrum here, they need to make it a priority, because this is a very recent phone, and they probably have an upgrade on the way, but until that happens, when you put these two side by side for users, the Galaxy Nexus here is quite a bit more appealing. Even if the LG Spectrum has pretty much just as good specs, the LG Spectrum operates in, the Galaxy Nexus operates in a nicer way. But so enough about strictly software design user interface. There are some nice parts about the LG Spectrum here. First of all, the screen is really impressive to me. It's bigger than I would prefer at, I want to say 4.5 inches, or maybe 4.7. I don't recall off the top of my head. But it's an IPS display, I believe, and oh no, I might be wrong on the IPS, but at least let me say the colors are, they pop a lot. They're very good looking. I don't get a sense of oversaturation like I have in the past with some of the AMO LED displays of Samsung's products. And let me just show you how nicely this will play 1080p content and how nice it looks, because this is actually a 1280 by 720 screen here. Let me find the gallery. And first, let me show you a couple photos. And to me, these look really good. They're very sharp. The colors are excellent, and of course these are professional photos, so the ones taken on the phone may not turn out this way, but in terms of just viewing high quality photos, it's a good experience on this big screen. And I'm extremely impressed with the video playback as well. So this is Planet Earth here, and I'm sorry if it's a bit dark. It will brighten up in a moment, I believe. And I have my camera set for particular exposure so that it was easier to see the other parts of the software. And so this may not look great to you, but I'll tell you, if I can adjust it, hopefully let you see a little bit. This looks excellent on here. This is, let me double check, but I want to say this is 1080p content. Yep, this is full 1080p content. It's 3 minutes long. This is an MP4 video, and it is playing perfectly smoothly. I haven't before seen this sort of performance on a phone for a 1080p piece of video personally, and it's pretty impressive. Although this wouldn't be, if I were going to watch Planet Earth, I would want to throw it up on a big screen TV. But if you're a commuter and watching videos is something that you're interested in, this phone does it really well if you got the right format and the right profile. So I'm really impressed with that. And again, the photos too, just really impressive colors, and sharpness at this 720p resolution. And I don't know that the sharpness has translated so well to the icons because they're sort of simplistic to begin with. They don't really have a lot of texture or detail to them, so you don't really get that right away. But when you do go into the photos and you do go into the videos, you can get a good idea of really what it means to have such a high resolution display. Alright, now before I drone on too much longer, I'm going to let you guys go. I appreciate you watching, and please join us at carrypad.com for a full review on the LG Spectrum coming in the next few weeks. Thank you very much.